Hi, I'm Ray Pitty and I'm 69 years of age. I'm fully retired, married with 5 children, 18 great children and 1 great-grandson. When I was working, I was actually the manager of Medibank and Medicare on the actual payment side of things for finance, where I paid all the chemists for all the scripts they dispensed. Outside of my work, I involved myself with refereeing rugby league, both in Brisbane and in Darwin. Through my experiences that I had through rugby league, particularly in A grade in Darwin and in Brisbane, I came across a lot of things which I thought were rather very memorable, some very humorous, and because I had 18 grandchildren, many of them grandsons, I thought, well, they weren't even born when I was refereeing, and it'd be great for them to know some of the things that I experienced as a referee. So I then, as I still followed rugby league quite a lot on TV, and in the present day's game, I find that there's a lot of grey areas within the game itself. Things that I, as a past referee, can't see that they're real great value to the game itself as far as presentation goes. So that, combined with my experiences in rugby league, I thought, well, here's a good story and something to put in a book. I had 2 grandsons actually who read it on the computer, and they also suggested it would be a good book to produce. So that's basically my motivations for bringing the book out, 1 for my grandchildren and 2 to highlight things that I see that are very grey areas in today's rugby league. The publishing of the book to me as a grandfather means a lot, because to me it's going to give my grandchildren, particularly my grandsons, the opportunity to be able to read the experiences that I did have, particularly when I refereed Great Britain in Darwin in 1970, also the first game ever televised in Darwin, and to see firsthand the experiences that I did have with a lot of high-profile players, such as Wayne Bennett, Wally Lewis, just to name a few. And my grandsons, no doubt, would be very, very happy to be able to say, well, my grandfather had achieved these sort of milestones. When I decided that I would go for a book, there's a number of channels that you've got to go through. Firstly, I was very fortunate that my wife is a librarian, or she was a librarian when she was working. She reads something like about 6 books a week, and she is very, very au fait with the ins and outs of literature. So I was able to get her to read it and do an unprofessional edit on it, which was great. But even with that unprofessional edit, you still need to go down the track and get it professionally edited. I searched around, I found a good editor in Melbourne who did a tremendous job on it, and when she came back with her report and said that she thought the book was fabulous, that in itself tempted me to say, well, maybe I should go and get it published. I did talk to publishers, well-known publish houses within New South Wales, Queensland, Melbourne, but a lot of these fully established places are very, very expensive, particularly for a first-time author, because they're not prepared to come out and say, well, look, we will publish your book and we're going to share the cost of it. So the author is up for a fair substantial cost, something over $5,000, $6,000 to begin with. And there's a lot of risk involved whether you can sell the book or you can't sell the book. Going through Bookpal, I found, being a very local publisher, which was just around the corner basically from me at Cooper's Plains, was excellent because their prices were reasonable, their prices were great actually. The assistance that you get from them was fantastic. And where you did have to have a communication with them, it was so good to have it locally rather than have to sort of go down to Melbourne or Sydney or something like this to iron things out. So that in itself, going through Bookpal, was fantastic. Working with people like Teddy, Deborah and Devi has been excellent. They've been most cooperative, most helpful in every aspect all the way through. And I was absolutely delighted that I had the opportunity to have my book published through Bookpal. My advice to anybody who wants to write a book is firstly, if you have the inclination to write a book, take the inclination, do it. Don't sit there like a lot of people and say, I wish I had written this book, because your life is going to end in a short period of time, shorter than you think, and you haven't put all the things that you would like to put down. It doesn't matter whether it be a book about yourself or a book about your experiences here, there and everywhere. If it's a desire of yours to really write a book and have it published, then my advice is to go for it, and certainly follow my lead, because if you go to a local publisher, and particularly somebody like Bookpal, you can't go wrong. The help that you get from them is great. So don't fall into the trap of going to big, high, costly publishers. Look for the ones who are local. Look for the ones who have got the mileage behind them as being helpful, cooperative, and very, very reasonable in price.